Hey folks, Keith McGowan, the Outboard Dad here to help you have a better boating experience. Please like, subscribe, and send me any comments that you have or any motors you're working on. I love getting the comments in, helping some guys clean some carburetors and do some things, some electrical issues. I love helping you guys out, getting you back on the water. That's what this is all about. So as I said with my Optimax, I'm not turning. I turn the key, nothing's happening, right? Nothing at all. So I know I have good power. Right? I know I have a good charged battery. That was my battery charger that fell to the bottom in the last video. Have to pick that up, set it back up again, make sure it's connected, because I like to have that battery tender connected all the time so my battery's always fresh. So we want to start there, and we can do it a couple different ways. We do want to make sure we have full voltage, right? So if we have a weak battery that's maybe less than 12 volts, these ECMs don't like that at all. Even on cars, they don't like it. So I have a simple cheap meter here. It's a little field piece meter. I'm going to set it for volts DC, and let's check to see. I'm just going to hang it here, and let's check to see what our voltage is at our motor, right? Because I have a set of battery cables coming from my battery. If my battery cable is bad or weak or corroded inside, it'll act like a resistance, and I won't have full power. So I tested my battery. I know I'm a little over 13 volts at my battery. So let's check from positive to ground on the motor, and I'm 13.1 volts. So I know my battery cables are solid. Now, sometimes you'll turn the key and that voltage will drop, but at least you would hear something like the motor would try and spin the starter motor. So now we have to figure out, I should have it here too. So another way to check, and sometimes it's a little easier, is another old school way I'm going to show you. Picked this up at a garage sale years ago. It's a Snap-on product, right? But listen, you can buy these at almost any auto parts store. You can probably get it on Amazon cheaper. It's a simple 12-volt light. So as long as I'm hooked up to ground and I touch 12 volts, this lights. So now I can test things with this as a probe and see if I'm getting 12 volts. So if I'm plugged in at my ignition source here, I should have 12 volts on my switch. I'm not sure which wire. I can check in the wiring diagram, or I can just go through and check each one. Now there is a little bit of corrosion on each connection, so I want to make sure that at the point of this, I'm going to kind of scrape a little bit to make sure I'm getting onto the metal. But first starts off with a good ground, and we're going to test this to make sure the light works, because if your light doesn't work, you can be testing all day long and never find where your issue is. So we're going to go right here to our 12 volts, and our light comes on. So this is a great little tester. It's old school, but it works well. So now I'm going to go right to my ignition switch. So I know when I turn this, nothing happens, right? So I'm going to go to each wire. Now I'm going to assume it's the red wire here, because usually 12 volts is red. But we're going to go to each one. And again, I'm going to push kind of hard on it. Now you want to be careful. This is a long metal rod, so you don't want to arc this across two terminals. You just want to go to each one, maybe give it a little scrape or a little push. Not getting anything yet. Try this one here. Sometimes you can get on the copper wire a little bit where the connector is. I don't have 12 volts coming down to this switch through this harness. So next I want to check, do I have 12 volts? Maybe there's a fuse blown on this motor somewhere that I'm not aware of, and I'm not getting it down. So let's check that out and see. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug my 8-pin harness. Now this does look to be a little old, but I don't think that's an issue. Doesn't look heavily corroded, because we want to make sure when we plug in we get a good connection as well. So I'm just going to go through and test. There's 8 pins here, so I'm going to go around the outside, test these pins. Not getting anything yet. Now again, I can check the wiring diagram and see which one is supposed to have 12 volts, but if I don't have it on any of them, then something else is going on. Oh, there we go. So in the center here, I have 12 volts, center of this plug. So that should relate to one of these wires coming out of this harness. So maybe it's not coming to the switch first. Maybe it's going through something else, like a shifter switch, a neutral safety switch, before it gets to this. So I'm going to now look at that wiring diagram, see if I can find that. I'll spend a couple minutes doing that. I'm going to take the old tape off of this and string this out, make sure there's no breaks in the wires. Because I bought it for 50 bucks. The guy was just getting rid of it. The control is old, right, that came with it. Has a cutoff switch here. And the neutral safety switch is in here. I know it's on the yellow wires because I've seen this before on several different outboards. On Yamaha too, I think it's yellow wires. But so if these yellow wires are my neutral safety switch, should it be closed? Should it be open? And where would that connect? Would that connect here? And then send power down? Because these are two yellow wires. So I wonder if one of these, when I plug this back in, has 12 volts. Let's try that. So I'm going to plug this back in. It only goes one way. I'm going to clean the little junk off of it first. Plug this back in. And now let's see if this has 12 volts on one of these. No. So that doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up a little further. Take some of the tape and stuff off of this, disconnect it from here so I don't accidentally short something. And we'll check next. I'll open this up and then we'll check these wires. Okay, so now let's get into this a little more. We'll see what we have here. They have some tape wrapped around this thing. Pull the sticky tape off. Oh. Well, that might do it. That's supposed to be plugged into here, which is wrapped around here, so no wonder. So here we go. This was they're not even connected to anything, this key switch. So I was probably sending power down here, and it's a good thing something didn't short out. So it looks to me like someone just cut this probably to pull it out of the boat. So I'm going to go ahead and splice these wires. We may be in luck. I'm going to go ahead and splice these wires together. I'm going to match color for color of what's here. And then we're going to go ahead and plug this in and turn that key and let's see what happens. I think we might be on the right track. Okay, so normally I like to use the heat shrink butt connectors when I do connections, especially for the boat, because I can heat shrink them, seal them off. But I see I'm out of them. My buddy John, you may have seen him in a couple videos. He came over with a motor for his rooftop package unit, a condenser fan motor with the wires cut, and he took all of my connectors. Good friend, huh? So I do have some wire nuts here. It's just temporary. I don't want you, it's going to look like a mess, but I just want to do a test to see what this is. So all I'm going to do is take this wire for wire. You can see they're all different colors, and I'm going to strip each one back and match to the wiring harness, color for color. Some of them have stripes on them, so you have to be careful. And we're going to match it up, plug it in, turn the key, and let's see if we get spark. It'll be pretty cool. I'm getting excited. So I stripped all these back. So simple set of strippers. Maybe you guys don't have tools like this. You can get it at any Home Depot. This one says Greenlee is the brand. I probably found it up in a ceiling at work somewhere and just saved it because I'm a scrounger. So I'm just going to take one by one, and I don't want to strip too far. I'm going to guess it gives you the gauges here. I'm going to guess this is 16 gauge wires, just from wires I've seen before. And I'm just going to pull and strip back each one of these one by one. Just going to go down maybe a ½ an inch. I don't want to go down further because I'm only going to use the small wire nuts that I have here. And you'll see when I tighten them up, I don't want any of that hairs of or little pieces of wire sticking out or exposed. I may put some tape on it just for safety, but to get a test done, I want to make sure I don't strip off too far. So I'm going to finish stripping the rest of these, and then I'm going to head and connect one by one on here. Then we'll plug it in and turn it on, see if this thing cranks. Now, cranks number one. Number two, see if we got spark. So when we're trying to match up these wires, it can look a little overwhelming, look a little spaghetti-like, and some of the colors, if you look closely, are very similar to others. So we want to be careful and take our time and just do a process of elimination is a technical term. So I'm going to take the two yellow wires. One has a red stripe on it. The other one has a brownish stripe on it. So I'm going to do those first. I'm going to do all the obvious ones first as I connect one by one.